So you're about to graduate, or maybe you're in the first few years of your career. You're probably laser-focused on your resume, prepping for interviews, and trying to impress hiring managers, right? But what if that whole approach, the job hunt itself, is actually the very thing holding you back? In this explainer, we're going to explore a completely different strategy, how to build a career so valuable that the best opportunities end up finding you.
So let's just start with this question, because it really gets right to the heart of it all. Are you looking for a job, or are you looking for your real education? See, most of us think our education is done the second we get that diploma. But the choice you make right now to prioritize a paycheck or to prioritize learning, that's what's going to define the entire path of your career. It really truly changes everything.
Here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll talk about why school is just the beginning. Then, we'll get into the 3 stages you need to go through to achieve mastery. We'll cover a powerful guideline called the 70% learning rule, and then the big payoff, getting scouted. And finally, it all boils down to one fundamental choice you have to make. Let's dive in.
Okay, first things first. This idea that graduation is some kind of finish line, it's a total myth. Seriously. In reality, it's just the starting whistle for the most important learning period of your entire life. Think of it this way. University gave you the foundation, but the real world, that's where you build a skyscraper.
And this distinction is absolutely critical. University study is all about building that foundation, right? You're learning established theories. But field study, that's getting your hands dirty, actually doing the work, that's where you gain practical, valuable skills. One is just the first step, the other, that's your true education.
And this quote just drives the point right home. You can have the best degree from the fanciest university, but without that hands-on experience out in the field, your skills are always going to be just theoretical. The kind of high-level expertise that society really values and rewards, that's forged in the fire of doing the actual work.
Okay, so if field study is the key, what does that journey actually look like? Well, it turns out there's a pretty clear, step-by-step process for developing the kind of expertise that really gets you noticed.
You know, the path to mastery is actually way simpler than you might think. Step 1, that's the foundation you already built in university. Step 2 is immersing yourself in the real world to do your field study. And then step 3 is where the magic happens, practical application, where you really start to hone your craft and your true, tangible skills start to shine.
Now, it is so important to understand the time frame we're talking about here. This isn't a get-rich-quick scheme. Your 30s, that's your decade of deep learning. It's not about climbing the corporate ladder, it's about climbing the skills ladder. And if you really commit to this, by the time you're heading towards 40, your expertise will be impossible to ignore.
All right, so dedicating a whole decade to learning, that takes a very specific kind of mindset, especially when it comes to money. And this brings us to a radical but incredibly powerful guideline called the 70% learning rule.
First, you have to completely shift your identity. For that first decade out of school, don't think of yourself as a professional employee whose main job is to earn a paycheck. No. Think of yourself as a student whose main job is to learn, and you just happen to get paid while you're doing it. And it all comes down to this one simple number, 70%. It's a benchmark that will completely reframe how you think about your salary during this critical learning decade.
So here it is, the 70% rule. If a job offers you an incredible, once-in-a-lifetime chance to learn, but it only pays enough to cover about 70% of your basic living costs, you should see that as a 100% successful opportunity. Why? Because you're not there for the money. You're there for the skills. The salary is just the thing that makes it possible for you to achieve that real goal.
All right, so you've put in the time, you've treated your 30s as a decade of deep learning, you prioritize skills over a big salary, so what happens next? Well, this is where the whole strategy delivers its incredible payoff.
This right here, this is the ultimate goal. When you possess true, demonstrable skill, the entire dynamic flips. You stop being the hunter and you become the one being hunted. Companies with real, tough problems to solve will literally seek you out. Your skills become a magnet for opportunity.
And the difference in the outcome is it's night and day. On one hand, you've got the standard path, a slow, uncertain climb based on how many years you've been there. But the skilled path, that's a leapfrog. You get scouted for a role that might take someone else a decade to reach. And more importantly, your security comes from being irreplaceable, not just from your seniority.
At the end of the day, this path leads to rewards that go way beyond a better salary. We're talking about genuine respect, real stability, and being valued for your unique contribution.
You're no longer just another cog in the machine. You're a vital component that they had to actively go out and find.
So this brings us all the way back to the beginning, back to that fundamental choice you have to make. What is the real purpose of your search as you enter the workforce?
And this is where we see this massive disconnect. So many graduates are just looking for a comfortable place to earn money. But what society desperately needs are people who can actually work, people with real, tangible skills who can solve difficult problems. It's like the two sides are speaking completely different languages.
And this right here gets to the absolute core of the entire idea. This perception that there are no jobs out there is just fundamentally wrong. There are plenty of jobs for people who can work and contribute real value. The scarcity is in jobs for people who just want to be given money. The focus has to be on what you can do, not just what you can get.
So we'll leave you with this final question to think about. As you plan your next moves, don't just ask, where can I find a job? Instead ask, where can I build the skills to become someone who is sought after, respected, and truly indispensable? Are you preparing to be someone society can't afford to lose?